Ladies and gentlemen, the following episode is scheduled for one fall. Coming down the aisle are your hosts of In The Kliq, Baby Huey and Brandon Tanguma.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and joining me once again is my tag team partner from the Bulletcast. It's Brandon. What's going on, man?
What's up? It's been a while. It's been like a year and a half, but it's worth the wait. So glad to be back, Baby Huey.
Yeah, no, thank you again for making the call last minute. I do apologize for hitting you up and be like, hey, you want to record tonight? This was kind of like a last minute thing. I do want to apologize to all the Kliqsters listening right now, kind of for the lack of episodes the last couple weeks. The last week specifically has been really crazy. Brandon, as you know, you and I actually went and met up at the New Japan Pro Wrestling show, Battle in the Valley, down in San Jose at the San Jose Civic. And then I live here, in Alameda here in the Bay Area, and then was it Sunday morning or around lunchtime, there was a big power outage here in Alameda and also Oakland, and I had no power in our house for I think almost 5 hours, and I actually had to run to the radio station to do my radio show. Normally I can record everything here at home, no power. So my plans last Sunday of recording an Elimination Chamber review, doing my radio show, just getting a bunch of stuff done last Sunday was not going to happen. So, and then unfortunately I had a former coworker of mine pass away this week. So it's just been a very chaotic week for me. And so I'm playing catch up right now with the podcast. And Brian, a little MIA right now. So hopefully he gets back to me soon and curious what he's been up to. But Brandon, I appreciate.
We've been asking him the same thing over there at the Bulletcast.
I was gonna say, you know how I'm feeling right now. So, but I do appreciate you getting the hot tag and coming in and subbing in for him right now, and I appreciate you making the time. But a couple of things I want to ask you real quick. Your thoughts on the New Japan show last Saturday? That was a lot of fun. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I have been a pretty big New Japan fan,
okay,
but since the pandemic, I kind of fell out of favor. New Japan's been a little cold recently, but they're kind of on the come up, and I thought it was a fantastic show. I was there the first show they did at the San Jose Civic, and it was mainly like a house show, just like, oh, look, there's New Japan people here. Take it, have fun. But this one felt like a legitimate kind of pay-per-view style card with Mercedes Moné making her kind of re-debut after leaving WWE. And Okada Tanahashi matches might have been the best match in the world, but it was just kind of fun to see that with my own eyes. And the highlight of the show, me and Philip, my co-host at the Bulletcast, we spent like 30 seconds with CM Punk in an elevator. That was fantastic.
Yeah, so you were telling me about that as we were leaving the night, that you're like, this is the elevator we rode up in. So how is that experience like? Okay, take me through it. Like, who went in the elevator first? Were you guys already in there, and then he walked on walked in from a different floor? You guys all walked in at the same time. Like, how that whole thing came together?
It all started when we pulled up to the parking garage, and we were waiting to pay our tolls or whatever. And I look over to the side, and the car next to me is a Lars from Rancid. And I was like, oh, that's Lars. He has the beanie, the face tattoos, very recognizable if you see him. And I was like, okay. And I saw he had a passenger, and I maybe thought to myself, like, oh, maybe that's CM Punk, just kind of making jokes with myself. And then we walk to the San Jose Civic, and Philip does have a messed up ankle, so we did need to use the elevator. It wasn't like we were just being lazy. So we waited, and we were on the first level. We get in there, and Lars is there in the front, working the button. So they're already in the elevator. I don't know how they got there because we're at the bottom level.
Okay.
If there's some sort of secret backdoor celebrity entrance that they used. And so they were already there. Lars was in the front. Punk was in the back. He had a baseball cap on, face down, in his phone texting. And so I see Lars, and I'm like, oh, that's him. What's up? And I just kind of go to the back. I'm in front. Phillip's behind me. And I just look to my side, and I see this guy with a bunch of tattoos texting on his phone, and I see like the red ink on on the back of his hand, and I recognized who it was, and I was like, oh, that's CM Punk. How's it going? Didn't say anything, but it was just a regular run-of-the-mill awkward 30-second elevator ride. And Philip, I don't know what happened. We get to the second level. We need to go to the third. He tried to walk out, and I'm like, hey, nope, we need to stay here, buddy. We need to go to the third level. So I don't know how they were in the elevator before us, and they went down to the first level and then all the way up to the third level. It was Yeah, that's an old building, so those elevators might not be working as good as they used to.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up. But the San Jose Civic, the seating chart or the whole arrangement there is a little bit confusing because my buddy John LaRocca, from the Fight Game podcast, former APW booker. You and I've been to many of his shows where he booked some amazing matches, but he texted me and he says, yeah, I'm here in section, I think it was like 211 or something. I was like, 211? Because where we were sitting, it was technically the second floor of the building, but that was the 300 section. So I was a little thrown off by that, thinking, okay, if this is the second floor, this should be the 200 section. I'm used to SAP Center or Oakland Arena, whatever, any arena. It's like every level represents the different numbers. So this one, we were on the second floor, but it's 300. And so I pull up on my phone, like the seating chart, and I see the 200 section was technically on the floor. So I guess for them, the floor seats maybe are considered 100 section. And then in the back on the floor, where it's just a little bit elevated, just seats upward a little bit, it's still on the same level, but they're up. I guess that's considered the 200 section. So I went down and found him. But yeah, a little bit trippy. So I'm guessing maybe, CM Punk and Lars, maybe they got confused. I bet you they got off thinking they were on the right floor, but they really had to go up one more. So maybe they walked up the steps. Who knows? But no, that was a very fun experience. I'm glad, we all went. It was history, man. See Mercedes Moné making her New Japan debut and winning the title from Kairi. Amazing match. And seeing the legends, Okada, Tanahashi in person, Eddie Kingston doing his thing, defeating Jay White, who's now officially gone out of New Japan. I don't know, where do you think Jay White's going to end up? Do you think he's going to go to AEW, WWE? Where are you kind of thinking he's going to end up?
I honestly don't know. I think he can go either which way. I think both companies should go after him because I think he's a fantastic star, great heel, something we don't get a lot of those in wrestling these days. But I kind of thought that it sounds strange the way I'm going to explain it, but I feel like WWE kind of needs him more because I think they need stars and main eventers. AEW has a bunch of people that aren't defined down like WWE is. Like, I think you can take your Darby Allins, your mid-carders, and bring them up to a main event level. WWE has that kind of issue that a lot of their mid-level guys or mid-carders are defined at a certain level, and you can't bring them up to a main event status. So I think bringing in Jay White, giving him the Cody Rhodes, the AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes treatment, because we know how AJ Styles' run kind of started off with, but just kind of make him have a big debut and just put him in the main events, treat him like a star, and I think he'll thrive, especially with Triple H under control. If Vince was there, I would be a little shaky because he is a little bit undersized and he has that accent. But I think if with Triple H there, he'll thrive in WWE.
And the other thing too, keep in mind is I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, he should go to AEW. Technically, based on those last two matches in New Japan that he lost, the first one he lost a couple weeks ago was loser leaves Japan. So right, if I'm getting that correct, like he just whoever loses can't wrestle in Japan anymore. And the Eddie Kingston match is like loser has to leave New Japan Pro Wrestling, can't even wrestle for New Japan in the States. And so, AEW has the working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So if he went to AEW and wrestle against someone in New Japan, I don't know, I'm getting super technical here, but what
is a Forbidden Door pay-per-view?
Exactly.
What even is that?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess, technically if it's on AEW programming, I guess that counts, that it's AEW, not a New Japan branded show. So maybe that's the bypass and all these, stipulations for these last couple of Jay White matches. So I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. I kind of thinking he's going to go to WWE. Now, I kind of want to see him go to WWE. I want to see him kind of what he could do on the biggest stage in the world. So I'm looking forward to that. So no, but overall, a lot of fun. I remember you and I were walking outside. We saw Okada just walking around, getting into a minivan. So that was very interesting to see. And just, I even got a burrito. I haven't told you this. I got a burrito after the show, and it was at La Vix, the one right down the street. Scott D'Amore was in there, Giselle Shaw, Josh Alexander, one other person, all from Impact Wrestling. We're having burritos there late night. I was like,
by the time we left, it was like midnight, so there's not a lot of places open at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So I figured that's probably it. They probably just found this place, like, Googling, late night open restaurants in San Jose nearby. So I saw them, and I was going to, say, hey, big fans of your work, but I don't know, didn't want to interrupt them, so I just kept walking out the door. So, no, but overall, very fun show. And, I'm very happy for New Japan. I would love to see them keep this momentum going. I'm with you. It was very cool that it was a big pay-per-view vibe with them, and I hope this for them, they continue on their expansion here in North America. I think it's really important for them to keep things going here in America, and just competing with all the other promotions that exist. I know they do their thing in Japan, but I think it'd be really cool if they can come to America and just really set up shop and just do big things here. They got an amazing roster and legacy of their own, celebrating 50 years as a promotion. So I'm excited to see what they can do next. But yes, so Brandon, I'm happy to have you on tonight because this episode is going to be all about Elimination Chamber. I know, Elimination Chamber is technically a week ago now, but I still kind of want to touch on it because just a lot of big things happen on this show that is going to affect the road to WrestleMania because now we're officially there. And also with that, I want to talk about the fallout from this week's episode of Raw and SmackDown. So there's some big story beats that happened this week on WWE programming that really is going to kind of set things in motion for WrestleMania. So we'll go ahead, just touch on Elimination Chamber. We'll go through the matches real quick, give our thoughts. But real quick, I just want to ask you overall just some general takeaways of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view.
Overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. Obviously, the main event is what is going to get a lot of the headlines, but both the Elimination Chamber matches I thought delivered. I think the theme may have been, the finishes. There's a lot of cop-out finishes that kind of have a damper on the matches overall. So, there's a lot of good, and I think there was some bad as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's overall, I'm at the point now with Triple H. He's been, head of creative now since technically SummerSlam, which last year happened end of July. So we are coming up on, let's see, my math is correct, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. Has it been 8 months already? Wait, is that right? July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. Yeah, 8 months of Triple H in charge. And kind of my biggest thing that I was super excited for with Triple H in charge of creative is he would build up excitement and anticipation for pay-per-views for WWE's premium live events, the same level how I used to feel about NXT takeovers a couple years ago. Whenever, takeovers were every couple months, like once a quarter normally, and I got so excited, because they didn't happen all the time. So when they did happen, it was a big deal, and the anticipation was, and excitement was there. And that's one thing I was kind of looking forward to. Is man, these pay-per-views, I'm really getting excited for. And I think we're at that point now. Is that safe to say? I don't know about you. How are you feeling going into a WWE pay-per-view now?
I mean, I would say the excitement levels definitely have risen for me for these pay-per-views. I mean, the Elimination Chamber, maybe not the pay-per-view itself, but just the match of Roman and Sami. I think that might be the most excited I've been for a WWE match in quite a while.
Yeah.
And I mean, NXT, I loved the golden era of NXT with Triple H and doing all those pay-per-views or takeovers. I loved all those stuff. And Triple H, I think, has done a solid job. Nothing over the top or different than I think what they were doing in the past. But I just think the steadiness, and it doesn't seem like he's erratic in changing everything, every week like Vince was. So I think it's nothing crazy, but he's just kind of keeping it on the straight and narrow, which is something that WWE needed. Yeah,
just making little tweaks on some of these characters, the presentation, not repeating rematches over and over, trying to tell some more long form storytelling. But yeah, like I said, Clash of the Castle, for example, back in September, I was super excited for. War Games, Survivor Series last year, I was super excited for. Royal Rumble. But yeah, Elimination Chamber, I was excited for. And mostly, it was for the main event for Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. But I'm WWE's hot right now, man. They got some good momentum going, and it's perfect as they head into WrestleMania season. So yeah, Elimination Chamber, I for the most part, I enjoyed it. I didn't get to watch it live, like you mentioned. We were both at the New Japan show, but this one when I watched it Sunday, I was like enjoying all of it. And so let's go ahead and jump right into it and just cover 5 matches. That's the thing I love. Triple H, and granted, I know you have 2 Elimination Chamber matches, so that takes up a lot of time there. But I like it, keeps it simple, usually 5-6 matches, give them kind of pretty much enough time. And I know in between there's a lot of downtime with commercials and stuff for Peacock and whatnot, but I'm liking the pacing. It's easy to take in and watch and just absorb it all. So Elimination Chamber kicked off with the Elimination Chamber match, and the winner will get the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. The match had Carmella, Liv Morgan, Natty, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, and Asuka. And I know the match was just about under 20 minutes. I feel like it was just kind of, to sum it up, it was like a tale of 2 matches. Like I felt like it paced itself pretty nicely, like the first half, but then once all the women were in the match, then I felt like it really sped up, and they just did a bunch of eliminations, and ultimately Asuka picked up the win. So I kind of felt bad. I wish they would have had more time to wrestle, but that was kind of just like the major takeaway of it all. What'd you think of this opening match here?
I quite enjoyed it. I think the men's one was like a 35-minute match, so it was quite a bit shorter than what the men's one was, but they didn't overstay the welcome. I thought everyone, got the character across quite nicely. Honestly, I might say I like this one better than the men's match just a little bit because it was very straightforward. You understood what they were doing. They didn't do those overly convoluted spots that I think sometimes the men's matches get into. But Asuka was the heavy favorite going into it. They didn't mess around. They had her win, go over clean. I think that was absolutely the right choice because, Bianca Belair needs someone legit, and maybe outside of like Raquel Rodriguez, I just didn't see anybody other than Asuka being the winner in that match.
Yeah, you're right. That was the thing with this Elimination Chamber match. For the winner, as I said, the winner becomes the new number 1 contender for the Raw Women's Championship, Bianca's opponent for WrestleMania. And yeah, when you kind of saw all 6 opponents for this match, yeah, I mean, Asuka was like the clear favorite. I mean, no offense to everyone else, but the rest of them were all kind of been floating around like in that mid-card scene, not really.
Yeah, I feel like if this was a number 1 contender match for a Raw or a Backlash or some lower level pay-per-view, any one of those women could have won. But just at WrestleMania, we're not going to see Bianca Belair versus Nikki Cross. Like, let's be honest. Or Natalya, as talented as she is, Natalya's not main eventing a WrestleMania.
By the way, shout out to Natty. She is Canadian, part of the Hart family. So I know everyone was focused on Sami Zayn, Montreal's own, getting the big pay-per-view main event here. But when she came out, she had a good home country pop. Listen, I know Montreal is different than other parts of Canada. I know Bret Hart, he thinks all of Canada is his, but no, it was cool. She got definitely the home country pop for Canada, and she definitely, I'm glad that she was in this match. It was a big moment for her. You could tell she was just smiling, enjoying herself. But the match itself, Raquel did her thing as far as, being the big bad in there. Well, not bad, but baby face, but just, laying everyone out. I like how she picked up Nikki Cross and sent her through the pod side door. That was an awesome spot there. I always freak, though, when they always go through that. I'm afraid that it's going to shatter, but I keep reminding myself it's just plastic. But I'm still worried that if it breaks, it could scratch them really bad.
I think that's one of the things that I don't like about the new Elimination Chamber. Like, I get it. We're trying to be safe. We want the wrestlers to not hurt themselves, but like the very plasticky looking plexiglass or whatever it is, and they try to oversell like, oh my God, they went through the glass. They're dead. I'm like, it's like plastic. It does, like, yes, it might hurt a little bit on the fall, but it doesn't hurt going through that plastic.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I did like seeing Natty lock in the sharpshooter on Liv Morgan in the middle of the ring, and then Asuka came over with the double submission, and Liv Morgan ultimately just passed out, and that's how she got eliminated. What do you think, though, about Liv Morgan? I feel like, are they trying to tell the story that, like, she loves pain and will not submit, so she'll just pass out every time? Like, it's like her character is like she's trying to be violent, I guess. I don't know what's the right way to describe this. Like,
I don't know what they're doing with the Liv Morgan character, because what she kind of went crazy, whatever, after losing to Ronda. And we thought, oh, maybe she's gonna team up with Bray because Uncle Howdy is Bo Dallas and they're together, so maybe we're gonna go down that route. But that doesn't seem like there's any correlation to that, and she's just like kooky, crazy. She's like the Iron Woman of WWE right now, with the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber being one of the first ones. So I don't know what they're going for. Like, people like her, like she's very popular, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. And like, I don't like the pain pass out spot. I think it is overused. And as like an MMA person, I watch those things, and no one's gonna pass out to an arm bar because of pain. You're gonna break their arm, and you're just. So that I also just kind of don't like those types of spots. Like, if it's a choke out, like a choke, I'm fine with that. But just an arm bar or a sharpshooter or something like that, that kind of takes me out of it.
That's a good point. And for anyone who doesn't know, you and I are both huge Stone Cold Steve Austin fans, and he perfected it.
Yeah, of course.
Bret Hart.
He was the first one to do it, and he should be the only one to do it.
Exactly. So
because of the blood loss, he was getting lightheaded.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He was getting dizzy, and it made sense. Yeah. No, come on, man. You common sense there. But then we saw Asuka beat up Natty before Carmella came in and got the pin on Natty, so she got eliminated. Asuka and Carmella teamed up, eliminated Raquel with the double pin. That was pretty cool to see. And then it was interesting, down to Asuka and Carmella, the last two. Carmella got the super kick on Asuka before she was able to lock in the arm bar, picking up the win. So Asuka is new #1 contender for Bianca Belair and the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. And as you mentioned a second ago, it makes sense. It's WrestleMania. You want to give Bianca probably the best opponent available. And while everyone thought Rhea was going to go after Bianca Belair, now we know she's going to go off with Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's title. I love this. I love Asuka. So I'm very happy that she's going to get a chance to shine once again on WrestleMania, the biggest stage out there. And if you really think about it, I wonder, okay, listen, we know Asuka is probably one of Triple H's gals. Obviously, he brought her into NXT, gave her the long title reign there. I feel like, I don't know if you saw that stat online, but Asuka, let's see, she was NXT Women's Champion, she's been Raw Women's Champion, SmackDown Women's Champion, Tag Team Champion, Royal Rumble winner, Money in the Bank winner. Now she's won an Elimination Chamber match. The only thing she has not won, and please confirm if you know, was win a WrestleMania match. Is that, or actually, let me double check.
She win that tag team match?
Maybe. Okay, yeah,
a couple years ago, because we just on the Bulletcast we just did the best opening WrestleMania matches. We just talked about that match, which I think is much better than the Charlotte Rhea match, the same one.
Oh, okay. But I feel like Triple H is maybe trying to really solidify Asuka as a legend and give her a big WrestleMania moment to really just solidify her reign in WWE, her career. Sorry, so if you couldn't tell, that's my early pick for WrestleMania. I think Asuka's going to defeat Bianca Belair. So, but you get what I'm saying. So I really think that's like the last thing Triple H wants to get done for Asuka. She's pretty much accomplished everything you can do in WWE in the women's division. I think the last big thing he wants to do for her is get her a big WrestleMania moment. So I think that's it. I'm trying to think of any other like major achievements that she's done. Or I think I listed them all there.
I mean, in terms of like stuff in the women's division, has done it all outside of, as you said, like the WrestleMania moment. She hasn't really gotten that yet. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be cool. And, I love her new kind of gimmick. Well, branding herself with the old clown, psycho clown killer gimmick that she did in Japan. So that's really cool. Next match was Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. I was super excited, looking forward to this match because I like how it's like the rubber match between the two of them. We know Bobby Lashley beat Brock Lesnar at Royal Rumble last year. Brock beat Bobby at Crown Jewel this past fall. So I was like, okay, rubber match, and I like it's like been told out over a whole year. So they're kind of like taking their time getting to this. I don't know about you, man. I felt this match was a little disappointing here. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I was not like super excited for it, but I was intrigued to see what they were going to do. and I kind of called the DQ finish, but I thought it was going to be Bobby doing the DQ, and the build to it was very strange, where it was Brock being the happy-go-lucky country boy babyface, Lashley kind of playing more of a heel role. So that's why I was thinking Lashley do the DQ if we're going to go to another match at WrestleMania. But no, they did the opposite. Brock does what he always does and just lays waste after a match that he loses. And then going on to Raw, I don't know what they're doing with like Lashley. Now he's like back to being like the Lashley before, kind of like a more of a baby face again. So I don't know what the point of this match was if they are gonna go off in separate directions at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'm really kind of confused here. So I was a little disappointed. It seemed like Bobby, for them, like I love when two big guys go at it and just beat each other up. Now, granted, sometimes it can get a little boring or repetitive if they're just doing like big finisher after big finisher. I kind of want to see more out of it. Their three matches have all kind of been the same storytelling in the ring, so I kind of wish they would mix things up a little bit more. But this one, Brock was kind of getting beat up and had the hurt lock on him. So yeah, he just does a low blow kick on Bobby Lashley and gets the DQ. And then so technically, Bobby wins, but then Brock goes on a tear. He's pissed off. Does F5, couple F5s on the ref, throws Bobby through the table. So it's just like kind of a weak finish here. And I was like, I hope that's not it. I want to see someone get a clear victory over someone. I know Bobby got the first match, but like these last two have been kind of lackluster in that sense. So I don't know if this is going to lead to a WrestleMania rematch. I know we saw on Raw this week, Omos and MVP challenged Brock Lesnar for a match at WrestleMania, and then on SmackDown, not this past week, but the week before, Bray Wyatt just kind of in a promo challenged the winner of Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. So what are your thoughts on that as far as WrestleMania, as far as where this match leads to? The two matches is potentially Omos versus Brock Lesnar and then Bray Wyatt versus Bobby Lashley. I'm not a fan of either one of those.
Me neither. Just as crazy booking, I want to see it. Don't think it's a good idea, but I would love to see Brock Lesnar and Bray Wyatt become a tag team and go after Omos and Lashley in a tag team match. Just combine them in one super match. But yeah, I don't know what the Bray Wyatt thing was, whether that was just a straight up red herring or they threw it out there to do something, but they saw the backlash and backed off. People are rumbling. There's rumors and speculation on the internet that Vince is back in creative, which is not the case. But with Omos and Brock possibly having a match, that definitely fueled those fires.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think this is what's going to happen in terms of Brock and Omos. They're going to do something else. I mean, what does Brock have to do with Omos? And Omos, he hasn't proved anything, and he's kind of just doing the same thing over and over again and not improving at all.
I think that the reason for this, if it does happen, is for a couple things. I think they're trying to get Omos over, and maybe he needs a big WrestleMania match to kind of get him going. And going back to the Vince McMahon, people are worried that Vince McMahon might be back in creative. I don't think he's officially back. As far as if he's officially back in creative, he would be showing up at Raw and SmackDown. There's been no reports of him showing up there. Now, granted, Triple H has said in previous press conferences or interviews that he does still what's the term
they discuss things, nothing official, but they're still they're family. They talk about stuff.
Yeah, so he gets advice or gets input. That's the word, input from Vince McMahon. So I'm sure Vince maybe gives some broad stroke ideas or concepts, and then Vince kind of takes that, or Triple H takes that and tries to work with that along with probably what he already wants to do, and maybe kind of comes up with something. So I'm sure Vince maybe just talks to Triple H, but I doubt he's not in full blown in charge of creative. So I think people are kind of panicking for nothing. So that's my takeaway. I think with Omos versus Brock Lesnar, if it does happen, I'm sure they're maybe trying to think of a big WrestleMania moment, a la Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant. Maybe they want to see Brock Lesnar give an F5 to Omos or something, a big moment like that. That's what I'm kind of thinking, maybe why that match might happen. But I think Omos definitely needs a big win. So maybe they just feel like they're just trying to get Omos over, and what better way than, with Brock Lesnar, one of the all-time greats. So, but still, I'm not a fan of it.
I almost kind of see it the opposite way. Just like Brock's been losing a lot, and I don't see much in Omos, and just have Brock beat Omos, put him in an F5, do some impressive things, and just have him win and get some credibility back.
Yeah, that easily can happen too. So that could be, it's a simple win for Brock Lesnar potentially. So I don't know. I just kind of wish, I'd rather have Brock have a bigger opponent. So I don't know.
You can't get much bigger than Omos.
Physically, yes. Popularity-wise, someone else. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I hope it's kind of a swerve and maybe it leads to like the return of the Hurt Business somehow. Because I think there were rumors that they're working on trying to get them back together. And we've been seeing Easter eggs on Raw for a while now. I want to see the Hurt Business get back together under Triple H's creative. Because I really think they're going to be awesome. We know Triple H loves his factions. He's been in a couple legendary ones. He had quite a few in NXT. So I would love to see Hurt Business creatively control Triple H. And I want to see that storyline play out some more. But yeah, Bobby Lashley with Bray Wyatt, though, I'm not excited about that. Because Bobby, he's straight lace, suit wearing, badass. Bray Wyatt, his run so far, his return to WWE has been kind of a little bit lackluster. I don't know if I want to see Bobby get caught up in like the magic of Bray Wyatt here. I don't know. It just doesn't really feel it would make sense. I don't know.
I've never really been the biggest fan of Bray Wyatt. I think by far his best run was his intro run as the cult leader. Mm-hmm. I just think everything else has just been lackluster, as you said. So much hype, maybe people reading too much into what he does, and there seemed to be a lot of promise in this final run, or in this run he's doing right now, but it's just meandering and just keeps going and doing nothing. We're taking little baby steps and we're not getting any big reveals or any big conclusions. And I don't know what those conclusions could be at this point, besides like if Bo Dallas reveals to be Uncle Howdy, is that even like really a thing? Like, just people might like, okay, that's cool, but it's not all the buildup. I think it's not worth it.
In this yesterday on SmackDown, they did another like Firefly Funhouse episode kind of, but Bray was like the door was open and he was in a separate room and laughing. He's like, "Who let the door in?" And I was like, "Where's this go?" It was like a psychedelic acid trip I was watching there. So for everyone who hasn't watched it yet, watch it on YouTube, whatever. But I do want to give a shout out to my buddy Graham Matthews from Bleacher Report. His tweet I saw earlier just really kind of sums up Bray Wyatt's run right now. And this he said, quote, "I love Bray Wyatt, I really do, and I defended what he's doing when he first came back, but the constant, quote, cryptic vignettes with zero payoff have gotten ridiculous. Throwing him into a random WrestleMania match doesn't help. Just get to the point because it's wasting everyone's time." So, Brandon, it definitely just goes along with what you just said. It's like, if you're just going to throw him in a random match with Bobby Lashley, it doesn't make sense. And these vignettes and Firefly Funhouse and all this stuff, Uncle Howdy, like, we need explanation of what is going on here.
Yeah,
what is his
love
purpose?
The idea of Bray Wyatt and all these different little messages, and people love NRGs or whatever they're called, like, online puzzles, trying to find stuff. And we thought we were getting that with Bray Wyatt. And when did he debut? Like 6 months ago, and we still don't really have any answers.
Yeah,
like,
so
what is Uncle Howdy? Like, is Uncle Howdy with him? Is he like against him? Is he controlling him? What is going on?
Exactly, you're right. Like, listen, if this was the early '90s, where reality in wrestling was a little bit different, but now post Attitude Era, where we're all like reality based and more, we want more like realism in our wrestling. It's kind of tough to kind of go back into that world where, you suspend disbelief and like, oh my God, this wrestler has some magical powers and stuff. It's not as effective in 2023 as it was back in like 1993. So I feel like with Bray Wyatt, we need explanation of his current run, his current purpose, his character. What's the point of all this? So I'm with you. It's getting kind of lackluster, and I'm worried about Bobby Lashley getting sucked into that. LA Knight
to be Seth Rollins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, LA Knight was in that long running program with Bray. He lost, and he had a match on SmackDown this week. He lost there too. Actually, let me double check who did he lose to. It was he lost to Kofi Kingston. But I'm glad, even though he lost last night, he at least is moving on and like getting into a new program with someone. LA Knight held his own with Bray Wyatt, and now it's like he's washed his hands clean. He can move on to something else. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I know we still got 4 weeks till WrestleMania, but next up we had a mixed tag team match at Elimination Chamber. It was Edge and his wife Beth Phoenix taking on Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley of the Judgment Day with Dominic Mysterio ringside here. This match, I was glad it wasn't too long. Beth Phoenix, shout out to her. I thought she looked great in the ring. Rhea Ripley, still just a dominant force. Ultimately, Edge and Beth Phoenix pick up the win by doing the Shatter Machine. I guess, they got permission from FTR, but we know they're all neighbors with them and stuff and friends. But overall, very fun match. I don't know, what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, this match was fine. It was there. I thought maybe we would have got this at a Royal Rumble or something. And I thought that the finish was either Rhea pins Beth or Edge pins Finn, and that's exactly what we got with Finn taking the pin here. And I thought, okay, we're done. Rhea's going off and doing her thing with Charlotte. Maybe Edge can do something else at WrestleMania, but no, we're continuing on this like almost year-long feud of Edge and the Judgment Day. I don't think anybody cares. I don't even think Edge cares, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's my thing. It's like I kind of want this to be over. It's like, okay, listen, I know they're trying to retcon Edge and the whole Judgment Day kind of storyline didn't really work out in his favor. But yeah, this ongoing feud with them, it's with his old faction. It's just like it's getting old. Like it needs to resolve. As we saw on Raw this week. So at the press conference after Elimination Chamber, it was known that Austin Theory was going to have an open challenge for the U.S. title, and Edge answered it or declared during the press conference he will fight him. The main event of Raw this week was the two of them going at it. Great main event for Raw this week, but ultimately Finn Balor came in, interfered, and cost Edge the match in the U.S. title. So it's not over between the two of them. Like you said, it's like this ongoing feud. There are rumors that maybe they'll have just one final match at WrestleMania. Maybe we'll get Demon Finn back. Some people are speculating maybe it could be a Hell in a Cell match. I think that was the original idea for Royal Rumble, as you mentioned, a Hell in a Cell match between the two of them. But I think Edge was filming TV or something, a Disney Plus show or something like that, so he wasn't available. I don't know. What are your thoughts on a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania between the two of them and Demon Finn Balor coming back into the fold for that?
I love Demon Finn Balor. I think the visuals of that is amazing. Has he been protected? Is he still like undefeated in WWE with that?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Because they don't really use it that often. I think he had like that one match with like Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania a couple years ago, and they kind of have. Oh no, he lost to Roman. He was like a dead fish, and okay, but we're just gonna forget about that.
Yes.
But as I said, I kind of wish this feud was over, and I mean, adding an elimination or Hell in a Cell was like fine. Like it's gonna be when we get there, it's gonna be a solid match, a fun match. People are gonna love Edge, and it'll be athletically fine. But I just think what you said, 4 weeks away we are from WrestleMania. I just don't know how we get there without it just being a complete drag.
Yeah, I'm with you. But then again, I guess I am kind of excited for a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania because, as Triple H said last year, he's doing away with Hell in a Cell as a dedicated pay-per-view. You'd rather save that type of stipulation match for when it calls for it in a blood feud that like really wants to just conclude and wrap it up. It's like this feud's been going on long enough. The only way to settle it is a Hell in a Cell, and just put it whatever pay-per-view is coming up. So looks like obviously WrestleMania is coming up. That's where they can settle this score between these two guys. And we do know Triple H loves Hell in a Cell matches at WrestleMania. He was involved in those, so maybe that's kind of why he wants to put it off and save it for WrestleMania. But then again, like I want to see Edge move on because technically, didn't he say this is his last year wrestling? So I want to see him kind of get some other.
A year that has been with the Judgment Day. What a waste.
Yeah, I mean it's like, come on, man, you got 1 year left. You're saying that you're going to retire soon. Granted, this whole run of his has been great to see him back, get some extra years that we didn't think we were going to get out of him. But like, I want to see him get some fresh matchups here and like let's tell some more compelling stories before you call it a day. So that's my main thing. Real quick, just want to touch about Rhea Ripley. And so she's definitely moving on now from the Edge Beth Phoenix storyline. As we saw on SmackDown this week, Charlotte Flair came out and cut a promo just acknowledging that her match with Rhea Ripley. Dominic Mysterio came out and started talking to her and just talking on behalf of Rhea Ripley, mommy, and the back and forth is pretty funny. I like how Charlotte says like she has a real Latino man at home that calls her mommy, so acknowledging Andrade for everyone out there. But then Rhea Ripley came out and had a stare down with Charlotte, and then Dominic tried to pull her out and get her out of the ring, and then Rhea jumped back in. They just had a little back and forth talking there. Charlotte held up the belt. So I don't know. So Brandon, this is what I want to ask you, and I kind of seen this dialogue online earlier, is, okay, now the rumors are this might be the main event for night one of WrestleMania, Rhea versus Charlotte. And originally I wanted Rhea versus Bianca for WrestleMania, but I could see why they want to do Charlotte versus Rhea, because they do have history going back 3 years ago, their match at WrestleMania. So there's a lot of old footage and promos they can go and refer to. The dynamic is different now because Charlotte technically is a baby face. Rhea is the heel.
Is she?
See, that's the thing. So last night she comes out. If Rhea is the heel, I wish she would have done something last night to get some heat going for herself. Instead, she just stared at her, and then Dominic pulled her out of the ring. That's almost like a babyface move in a way, as far as like, I'm showing restraint. So that's why it didn't make sense for me, and that's what I'm worried, because Rhea, even though she's supposed to be heel, she is so over with the crowd. Charlotte, even though she's a babyface, she definitely has still mixed reaction from the crowd. I'm worried that the crowd's just going to turn and cheer for Rhea and boo Charlotte Flair there. So I'm just concerned what they're going to do. I just wish last night, if that was going to be the step one or part one of the build for their match, I really wish Rhea would have done more in the ring to get her heat going against Charlotte Flair. So I was a little disappointed by that. So I don't know about you, just overall, your thoughts on how would you like to see this build play out leading to WrestleMania?
I honestly don't know how they're going to play this, because I know your other co-host, Brian, big Charlotte guy, absolutely
Yes.
loves her. I am on the complete opposite. Not that I hate her, think she's trash or anything like that, but I think Charlotte is much better suited as a heel.
Yes.
Always she should be a heel. We've seen so many times when she's a face, like it works a little bit. Like it worked in the beginning when she won the title, and then now she just is kind of falling back on the regular, Flair gimmick that she does, and it just doesn't really translate to being a babyface. And
Yeah.
Rhea is honestly the hottest woman going right now in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And so putting that up against Charlotte, who's a lukewarm kind of, back and forth babyface heel, who knows how the crowd's going to feel, put up against a WrestleMania crowd. I know maybe not the smartest of smart crowds anymore, really, with AEW now, but I just think they're going to run into either a mixed response or a Rhea Ripley positive response at WrestleMania. And if that's what they're going for, if they want to crown Rhea, which I think they should, and I think saving that Bianca Rhea match for maybe WrestleMania 40 for, whether that's a title versus title, whatever they're going to do, I think they can save that, because that is a generational type women's feud they can have in WWE. So I do wonder how they're going to get there, because Rhea much more popular than Charlotte is right now.
Yeah, so I was just a little disappointed with that face-off last night. I really thought it should have been a lot more excitement build or story beats built there. So hopefully they'll make up for it on Raw maybe this week. Maybe Charlotte comes over to Raw and confronts Rhea there. I think that'd be kind of cool. Just, if she's a baby face, maybe she's the one who goes out of her way to confront the heel on their territory. So we'll see how this goes. I do want to touch on Dominic and Rey Mysterio. So Dominic was there last night. He saw his dad. Once again, just made fun of his dad. It's like, fight me. And he was in the ring, pie-facing his dad after his match with Karrion Kross. He cost him, let me just double check here. Karrion Kross defeated Rey Mysterio last night on SmackDown, but Dominic came out of nowhere, cost his dad the match, was pie-facing him. He's like, come on, hit me. He's going back to that story beat we saw not too long ago. Earlier in the night, though, when Rhea and Dominic were backstage, Santos Escobar and Rey confronted, Rey was doing a promo Dominic and Rhea came and confronted Rey, and then Santos Escobar came to Rey's defense and said, your dad's a legend. I'm kind of curious, and let me ask you this. This is kind of fantasy booking here. I think a lot of people anticipate it's going to be Rey versus Dominic, son versus dad at WrestleMania. But then again, we know Rey does not want to fight his son. I wonder, would you be interested in seeing Santos Escobar versus Dominic at WrestleMania? Is that a matchup you'd be interested in?
I mean, I don't think there's a lot of Dominic matches that I'm very much interested in. So I think it has to be Dominic and Rey in a match. Okay. Now, I know Rey has been dealing with some injuries lately.
Okay. Yeah.
But, I mean, if he can keep himself healthy until WrestleMania, like I was saying this back last year, I don't know what Rey he wants to do with his career, but I feel like just a son versus father, hair versus mask match at WrestleMania would be fantastic. Now, I know Rey might not want to lose his mask, but just fantasy booking, I think that would be a great story and just propel Dominic as just a mega heel. Now, does he have the talent to be that type of an MJF level heel? Maybe, probably not, but that's just what I want to see. If it's going to be a Dominic match, I think it has to be against Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I think your money's there, father versus son, especially the makeup, because their only WrestleMania match worked together was that Friday Night SmackDown, that WrestleMania SmackDown edition. Was it 2 years ago where they won the SmackDown titles? But it was on Friday Night SmackDown. It was the go-home episode for WrestleMania, and then they lost it to the Usos a couple months later. So I think for them, it'd be cool if they get to wrestle on the big stage. It would be against each other. I think there'd just be a lot more emotion there. It was just kind of weird seeing Santos Escobar kind of like babyface-ish last night on SmackDown. Legado del Fantasma has been more of just have been heels the whole time. So I don't know where they're going with Santos here. The only thing I can think of is, hypothetically speaking, let's say Rhea defeats Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I'm guessing that means Rhea will have to go over to SmackDown full time. Then maybe if there's a draft right after WrestleMania, maybe all of Judgment Day goes over to SmackDown. And then maybe you could start a feud with Legado del Fantasma, 3-on-3. So maybe that's ultimately where this is leading to. And so we're going to get Judgment Day versus Legado del Fantasma later on this year. So maybe they're just planting the seeds there. So that's the only thing I can think of, the whole point of that segment last night. Okay, so let's jump over to the Elimination Chamber match for the U.S. title. Austin Theory defending against Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano, Montez Ford, and Seth freaking Rollins. This match was almost 32 minutes. But yeah, Brandon, dude, this match was a lot of fun. And I think in many ways it kind of helped some guys who were just kind of, I don't say going through the motions, but just didn't have a lot going on lately. I think this helped kind of establish some guys moving forward. What'd you think of this match here?
Athletically, I thought it was a really good match. Johnny Gargano hitting that Poison Rana on Bronson Reed. It looked nasty on both ends, on Johnny and Reed's side. Seth Rollins doing his thing, but Montez Ford, he seemed to be like the star of the show. I was wondering, a lot of people possibly picked him to win, but they weren't really pushing him like that before, and then they give him the spotlight and he shined. Now I do want him to cut back on doing DX crotch chops and doing rock moves. Like, come on, bro, get your own gimmick, do your own things. But athletically, I thought it was really fun. The finish with Logan Paul and the door opening, I didn't like that. Austin Theory gets the win, and looks like we're getting Austin Theory and John Cena for the U.S. title, and Seth Rollins and Logan Paul at WrestleMania. But yeah, overall, it was 32 minutes, as you said, of just nonstop action. Wasn't a fan of some of the contrived spots of like Montez climbing all the way up to like the top of the cage, and just everybody happens to be standing there waiting to catch him. But everything else I thought was good.
Yeah, I was a little shocked that Bronson Reed was the first one eliminated, but I did like how he went out as far as he took the super kick and a bunch of finishers from everyone. It took, I think it was like 4 finishers on him to eliminate him. So even though he's been booked very strong so far on Monday Night Raw, it took 4 finishers to eliminate him. So even in defeat, it took a lot to remove the big man from this match. So I did appreciate that. So hopefully, he can maybe cut a promo or something like, it took 4 finishers to eliminate eliminate me from the Elimination Chamber.
And as you said, kind of everyone was just kind of meandering, like Bronson Reed was. He was like just winning squash matches, but I think all this, every person in this match kind of gave him a little jolt as we head into WrestleMania.
And by the way, if you really think about it, all 6 competitors in this match are all Triple H guys who did well in NXT at one point or another. I know Seth, it was a long time ago when he was on NXT, but he is a Triple H guy. But the rest of these guys were all on NXT in the golden years, the black and yellow brand. So I thought that was really cool that everyone in this match were like Triple H guys at one point or another. And so it seems really cool. He's like really pushing his guys from NXT from those years now on the main roster. So I thought that was really cool. This match was kind of help establish that. I mean, Damian Priest looked great here. He's a former. And I like how Michael Cole did acknowledge how like 4 of those guys had the North American title in NXT and they all kind of won it off each other or lost it off each other. So I like that they're connecting the NXT, their time in NXT, and how it plays into the main roster. I think that's just really cool, just from a history standpoint there. Let's see. Johnny Gargano, like, I feel like he's just kind of been doing okay on Raw. He hasn't really doing much here, but I like how in this match you got to see Johnny wrestling again. That's ultimately how he got over in NXT. It's just his wrestling, and he did some just amazing moves in this match, and I felt like it was great to kind of see him get back out there. And I wonder if they're just waiting for Ciampa to come back from injury and maybe do something together with them, DIY reunion. But in the meantime, it's just kind of nice they got to reestablish Johnny Gargano a little bit here in this match. Montez Ford, as you mentioned, I'm curious. What are your thoughts on Montez Ford going on a singles run? I think a lot of people are wanting it now because I think they feel like Street Profits have accomplished everything. Do you think this was like a test to see if Montez could hold his own and do a singles run at some point?
Possibly. And we've been waiting for this for like a long time. And I think at any point, like the Street Profits lose, we try to jump in. It's like, oh, they're going to break up now. We're finally going to get that Montez run. And I mean, I know a lot of people kind of see a lot in him, but I was never like the biggest fan of Montez. Not like I hated him, but I was like, oh, he's fine. But I think in this match, it did kind of open my eyes. Like, man, he has a lot of charisma and he can do it. If he, as I said, just no DX crotch chops and rock bottoms, like find your own moveset and like be your own guy. It did help with that Montreal crowd, but just the way he was carrying himself, I kind of opened my eyes a little bit. I was like, okay, I think we have something there. Yeah.
It'd be cool if one day he wins a title and Bianca has a title. They'd really become like the ultimate power couple in WWE. So, but I did like you mentioned a second ago where Rollins and Gargano are top of the pod and like resting for a second, and then they start hitting each other. And then Rollins was going to go for the power bomb. Johnny turned into Hurricanrana, and then the rest of the guys caught them. But then Priest, hit that nasty razor's edge on Gargano to eliminate him, and then Montez Ford got a blockbuster on Damian Priest, eliminated him, and then Rollins hit a curb stomp on Montez Ford. Theory came in, pinned Montez Ford. And I did like how that kind of set the angle where he's just laying there, passed out, not moving, and then the refs all come in. That's how the doors open, which led to Logan Paul. That was the reason Logan Paul was able to get in and ultimately attack Seth Rollins with the buckshot lariat. So would you say Logan Paul is the best buckshot lariat in all of wrestling right now?
It's better than my best friend CM Punk's buckshot lariat. I'll say that.
Oh, you should have asked him that in the elevator. Like, hey, man, like, what do you think of Logan Paul's buckshot lariat? Didn't see his reaction. Like, oh, my God.
I don't want to stir any trouble with my friend, Phil.
But so Logan Paul came in, beat down Seth Rollins, and then Austin Theory was able to pick up the win. So he retains the U.S. title. So as you mentioned, it looks like we know John Cena. It was announced on Raw this week. He will be at the Boston episode of Raw, which is what in
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah. So March, was that 6? I want to say. I wonder if that's going to be ultimately, calling out Austin Theory, and Austin Theory's doing these open challenges. Maybe Austin has another open challenge for Mania, and John Cena answers it. So we see what happens there. Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul seems to be where they're going for that. So we're starting to see things play out here as far as matches kind of being coordinated for WrestleMania here. So that was cool, though, just kind of see where this is going. All right, main event time for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn. Man, what an emotional roller coaster this match was. Almost 33 minutes long.
Did you get any spoilers? I tried my hardest because there were so many people in New Japan watching on their phones. I don't know how I did it, but I did not get anything spoiled for me.
Okay, nothing as far as even outcome, results, what transpired in that match. For me, I was spoiled who won. That was spoiled for me. But as far as what happened in the match, not so much. No, so I was kind of just curious to see what the story was. But yeah, what did you think how this main event played out here?
And this was just the ultimate WWE spectacle. The build, the atmosphere. I thought it was just fantastic, and it was an epic length. How long? Do you have the time in front of you? Because it
was 32 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah, so over a 30-minute match, and a lot of that was kind of meandering and just kind of soaking in the moment, but it didn't feel like stalling. And no. I thought it was great. The first 2/3 of the match were great. You know, the stalling, the actual wrestling. I did think it kind of fell apart for me in that third act and kind of the finishing sequence. We get the 2 ref bumps. We get, you know, Jimmy and Jay come out. Jay doesn't do anything. And, you know, he travels all the way to Montreal and just stands there and does nothing. And then Sammy hits him with a spear. And then that's how Sammy loses. I think if Sammy was going to lose what I think was the ultimate thing always, it should have either been he just lost straight up clean to Roman or he ends up getting screwed. And neither one of those happened. It was Sammy messing up, which I don't think a baby face in that scenario should be slipping on a banana peel.
What about the finish though? I heard someone say, which I like what you said, those 2 points, either lose clean to Roman or get screwed over. What about, I heard someone say pass out. I know we talked about it earlier, passing out in a match like Liv Morgan, but what about Sammy putting up such a fight, not giving up, and Roman, you know, maybe spearing, Superman punch, all that's not working, and he finally puts him in his submission hold. I'm totally blanking. His submission hold, is it not the guillotine?
Well, it's like the sleeper hold, the face lock or whatever.
Yeah. So what if he resorted to that and Sammy just passed out? So maybe Sammy looks like a hero by not giving up. It's just if Roman went to extreme lengths to just knock him out like that. So I'm with you on that one as far as I kind of wish maybe they would have done something a little more dramatic to kind of end this match. I'm with you. I thought they could have done a little bit better job with that there. But.
Yeah, I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to say let's lessen the pass out finishes. I forget what was the exact finish because it was the spear, and then it went to just one spear after that, right? Like Roman hit him with a spear or whatever, and then that was it. Like if we jump ahead to Dynamite where they did like the Wheeler Yuta spot where he hulks up, he kicks out, and then and then Roman just kills him. Like we see Sammy give that like last FU, and Roman just kills him with a spear. I think that could have been a fun finish.
Okay, so by the way, real quick, I did like how the match started. It took like 4 or 5 minutes before they actually touched each other. That was pretty cool, just between the crowd reaction. That was amazing. I like how Roman was talking crap to Sammy's wife outside. What'd you think of Sammy hulking up by kissing his wife outside? Like, he kissed her and he's like all excited, like, yeah, let's do this.
I thought it was fun. I mean, sometimes WWE goes down the route of, I think, overexposing the family, kind of milking it too much. They walked that line just enough to where it was almost too much, but I think they did a good job with that. I
did like how his wife said, like, Roman was pissed, saying, he turned my back on me and I gave him everything. And then she said, his wife said, I'm paraphrasing, he loved you unconditionally. He was loyal to you. So I liked a little bit of the emotion there, kind of on behalf of his wife explaining, Sammy's mindset at the time, being part of the bloodline. So as far as the finish here, let me double check. So let's see, Roman got out of the ring, hit an uppercut on Sammy before Sammy sidestepped a spear. Reigns went through the barricade. Sammy got a blue thunder bomb in the ring for a near fall. That was exciting to see that right there. The ref went down the corner. Sammy got a haluva kick, but there was no one to count. That was
the visual 5 count.
Yeah, that was a clear. I knew that was going to happen at some point. That Sammy would get a pin, but no ref there, and that was part of the ref bump. So Jimmy Uso came into the ring, took out Sammy, and then set up Roman for the pin. But Sami Zayn still kicked out. Sammy got a headbutt, hit a haluva kick on, let's see, whoever typed this, let's see, Sammy got a headbutt, hit a haluva kick on Sammy, no, that's not wrong, on the apron. Roman got a spear, but Sammy kicked out of it. The referee was down once more while Roman and Sammy took each other out as well in the ring.
He
Paul
hit
Heyman,
the chairs. That's what it was. He hit him with a bunch of chairs. Okay.
Paul Heyman handed Roman a steel chair under the ropes before Jey Uso came back. Roman handed Jey the chair and told him to hit Sammy, but he hesitated, so called back to Royal Rumble. What happened there? Roman slapped Jey, pushed him away before Sammy came in with a spear, but hit Jey by mistake. That's right, Roman jumped out of the way. Roman beat Sammy with the chair before getting a spear for the win. After the match, though, we saw Kevin Owens came out, attacked Jimmy and Roman, sending the Uso through the announcer's desk with a power bomb. Owens got a chair. Paul Heyman, when he came in, started hitting Kevin Owens on the back, and then Kevin stunned him. Owens was about to take out Reigns, but allowed Sammy. He stepped out of the way, let Sammy hit the Luva kick before Elimination Chamber went off the air. So, yeah, I'm with you. Like, the 2 ref bumps, I don't know if they needed 2 ref bumps. The one,
and that's kind of been a Roman staple these days. There's a lot of ref bumps, a lot of like chicanery at the end of these matches.
I mean, I guess for them, they're trying to say, Sammy got the moral victory. He had the 5 count, but no ref counting for him. And I wish there was a little more dramatics there. We still got a lot of unknown answers from this match, and that's something I kind of wish we had some more story beats there. But I get it. They're saving for maybe more story beats between everyone on future episodes of Raw and SmackDown on the build to WrestleMania. So Roman retains, still your undisputed WWE Universal Champion. Overall, I did enjoy the match. But let's go ahead and jump over to Raw and SmackDown this week, because there's a lot of stuff story-wise where they're going now with all of this. So on Raw this week, we saw at the beginning, the first segment there, we saw Sami Zayn come out, said he was upset, he didn't pick up the victory, but he did want to talk to Kevin Owens. Had Kevin Owens come out, and he says, I want your help to help me take out the Bloodline. Kevin Owens said, yeah, I want to take out the Bloodline too, but I'm pissed that, you let me get beat up at Royal Rumble, and my family get to see me get beat up, so they're still not on the same page here. What do you think of where they're at right now, relationship-wise?
I thought it was perfect. This is going to be the case with a lot of these feuds with a month left to go, is you don't want to just do everything right away, so they're doing a little bit of a slow build. Ultimately, I do believe we're going to get Usos and Sammy and KO at WrestleMania, so I think right now having KO, and that was a legitimate feeling for him to have, is we've had this relationship for such a long time, but you screwed me over at War Games. And a lot of people will think about Royal Rumble, but he was more fixed on War Games of really being that breaking point. And, we might love each other, and we'll always have a relationship, but I can't be with you right now. So I couldn't see you get murdered by the Bloodline, but I can't go that next step and be with you side by side.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think a lot of people are forgetting about here is I think a lot of people, as far as wrestling goes, they a proper conclusion or the proper way to end a storyline is someone needs to win a title. This story, the Bloodline story, is a lot more complex and deeper than that. It's about relationships with people and how people view each other, how they work with one another. I think at the end of the day, Sammy, it's not about winning a title for Sammy. It's about repairing his relationships with people that he's close with. And in this case, it's rebuilding his relationship with Kevin Owens. He might not be a brother by blood, but that is his brother. It's like his best friend, and repairing that relationship, I think, is more important. And I think it's about trying to tell the story of them patching things up, coming together to ultimately working together, having that synergy to take out the Bloodline. And is that something you kind of agree with or notice as well?
Yeah, the Cody storyline is strictly like about the title. He needs to win the title, do what his father couldn't do. The Sammy one, yes, the title was like, if I take the title away from you, then you're nothing. But it's, as you said, more of like a personal relationship and a personal dynamic. I still would have loved Sammy to win the title. Like, it would have been great. But he doesn't need the championship to be the triumph in this story. Yeah, and so I like how on Raw this week, it makes sense. Kevin Owens, he's still got a lot of issues, scars from this, his beatdown with
the bloodline the last few months, and his relationship with Sami Zayn's up in the air. So I like how, from a story standpoint, Kevin Owens didn't like quickly like, all right, I forgive you, and hug it out, and they're on the same page. No, there's a lot of layers to this, and a lot of things that need to be repaired here.
We'll get that Cody Dustin hug moment later.
Exactly. So I think that's the whole point, and I'm glad they didn't try to force it all in one night at Elimination Chamber. I think a lot of people thought, oh, what happened in Elimination Chamber is Jay's going to turn on Sami, beat him up, cost him in a match against Roman, but Kevin's going to come out, make the save, then they're going to hug, and that's just going to set up the match with the Usos for the tag titles at WrestleMania. Well, no, you got 5 weeks of story to tell after that. How are you going to, you got to be a little patient there. So I'm glad they didn't give us everything in Elimination Chamber, and it seems like they're going to tell that story over the next 4 or 5 weeks now to, one, keep us emotionally involved and want to tune in every week on TV, but also, yeah, it shows that it's a lot complex than that. As I said, like Kevin Owens, I get it. He shouldn't have to like quickly just forget everything, just hug it out with Sami. He's like, no, man, we got a lot of stuff to repair here. So that's, like I said, that's the whole point. I think what's going to see come out over the coming weeks. I do want to touch on SmackDown this week. So Jimmy comes out and he wanted to confront Sami Zayn. Sami comes out and confronts him, and he just tells Jimmy, like, dude, I am pissed off. Like, you were the first one who welcomed me into the Usos, man. Being Usi, you hugged it out. We're buds, and then you were the first one to take me out at the Royal Rumble. How dare you do that? And he's just trying to tell him, like, you and Jay can leave the bloodline, jump ship, and work with me. And he's trying to like help him get out of the bloodline. But ultimately, Jimmy beat him up, started getting into a fight with Sami. Jey Uso comes out and stands there and just stares at them. And then Sami hits a haluva kick on Jimmy, and then he runs out. And they have a quick moment staring at each other, and they move on. That's the other thing, too, is Paul Heyman told Jimmy early in the night, like, you need to get your brother on the same page. If not, Roman's going to come and do it for you next week. So Jimmy cuts this great promo saying, I know there's a lot of turmoil with the bloodline right now, but I'm trying to fix things. And so it's interesting, though. Jay, once again, just stood there and just kind of looked at Jimmy and Sami in the ring staring at each other. I wonder where's this going, because it's interesting, like, how's this going to play out? There's a lot of moving
parts.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, man. It's really hard to like explain. It's like it's one of those great dramatic shows you see on TV with so many layers, complex characters. It's really tough to sum it up in words, with everything going on. I really think for Jimmy and Jay, I think ultimately they're going to come together because they're brothers and they know they got to keep their family intact. Kevin and Sami, once they're on the same page, they realize, we're brothers and we got to take out the bloodline. So there's a lot of layers to this. So we'll see what happens. Roman Reigns is supposed to come to SmackDown next week, so how's that going to play out next? So I'm excited for all of this. There's just so much. I do want to ask you about Cody Rhodes this week. So he comes out. The crowd still loves him. Gets an amazing reaction from the crowd. Paul Heyman cuts him off. He has a neck brace. He has the stunner from Kevin Owens here. Ultimately, he just kind of challenges Cody. He's like, hey, man, can you handle being WWE champion? Doing press, wrestling all the time on the road, being away from your family. What'd you think about that whole dynamic between Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes?
I thought it was like on the weaker end of what Paul and Cody could do. But, they got plenty of time, flesh it out, and they're kind of killing time until we ultimately get that Cody-Roman back and forth moment that we're going to get maybe in like 2-3 weeks. But I mean, it was fine. Paul doing a lot of the heavy lifting. I do wonder what was the thinking behind Cody not really saying anything. I know there was some speculation that maybe they didn't want, Sami chance to kind of take over with them still being in Canada, or just possibly overexposing Cody, because so far he's just kind of been out there to cut his what do you guys want to talk about promos? And then, he had the odd match with Baron Corbin, but just he goes out there, talks for 10 minutes, and then he leaves. So I just don't know how much more you can get out of Cody doing that over the next month.
What do you think about the use of Paul Heyman and building up his storyline with Cody? I've been liking it so far as going a couple weeks ago, Paul Heyman cut out and said, like, you and your dad and I go way back, obviously WCW days, and helped them out with ECW, giving them some appearances, some money from that. I like how they're trying to establish that Cody has history with Paul Heyman because of his dad, and then ultimately Paul Heyman turned it on him and said, while he loves you as a son, he told people Roman Reigns is the son he wished he had because of all the success. And I think ultimately what they're trying to tell here is Dusty never trained Cody. Cody had to go on his own to kind of train, figure out who he is as a wrestler, while Dusty trained all these other superstars who've been successful in WWE. Roman, Seth, Bayley, the list goes on and on of everyone who's come through NXT and been successful in WWE. I like how they're trying to tell the story that Roman represents like the son Dusty never had. And I like how, remember Cody, I think when he returned to WWE, he kind of hinted that one story he wants to go after is like take out all of Dusty's kids from the Performance Center. So do you think that's what we're kind of starting to see here? I mean, I know I'm referring to a couple of weeks ago, but do you kind of think that's what we're going here with?
I don't know about like the, knocking off all the NXT guys, but I think the dynamic of Cody and Paul has been fantastic because, as I said, Cody, this was strictly like, I'm just going to win the title and Roman has the title. But now adding Paul to the mix and him carrying a lot of basically all the promos so far is making it more personal, and it makes it like a bigger deal because of that. So I think it's very good. I think once you add Roman into the mix, because so far we haven't seen them interact, and I think when that eventually does happen, it's going to be magic.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is I like how for Cody, he's just trying to say, listen, man, I'm just trying to win a title. I just want to win a title that my dad never won. That's all this is. But now you're making this personal about Roman and his relationship with my father, and you're trying to stick it to me that way. Like, now you're making it personal. I was trying to keep it simple. Simple mission. Get the title, beat Roman, win the Royal Rumble, beat Roman, get the title, and that's it. But now you're making it dirty and, like, really personal with me. So I like where Cody, they're trying to, like, really get sympathy for him. It's like he's just has a simple mission, but everyone's just keeps trying to take that away from him. So like I said, I like these promos so far, but I'm just afraid that that's going to run out. Like, I want to see Roman versus Cody. And I guess they're saving that for a big moment at some point. So hopefully we get that soon, and then really off to the races after that. So it's exciting, man, as far as where they're going. And I'm just happy that so far the crowd is still popping for Cody, cheering for him. Everyone's super excited for him. So it's really amazing how well Cody's been treated here versus his end in AEW. So there's a lot here to look forward to, and so I just can't wait for it all. It was kind of a nasty. Paul Heyman this week says, I could take care of Brandy Rhodes for you. I was like, I wonder if we're going to get Brandy Rhodes on TV anytime soon.
Eden Styles returns to WWE.
Yeah, exactly. So let me see here. Okay, so we went through Elimination Chamber. Let me just double check anything else from Raw this week that kind of stood out. Quick side note, what do you think the big surprises with The Miz and his wife Maurice? Look like a golden envelope.
I don't know. Maybe he's like the host of WrestleMania or something.
Yeah, I thought maybe his only way to get into WrestleMania this year is a ticket. So maybe it's a ticket for WrestleMania or something like that.
Or, Maurice is pregnant or something.
See, I thought it was like maybe she was pregnant again, but were they really making a whole angle out of that? I don't know. But yeah, Seth defeated The Miz, ref stoppage this week. We got to talk about the women's division real quick. So we had Ding Dong Hello Bailey segment here. Becky Lynch and Lita confronted Damage Control here. So it looks like they're setting up a tag team match. I know originally Trish Stratus was there on site, but some creative plans changed, so she didn't appear on TV. Where do you think this ultimately is going to lead to? Do you think Becky and Lita are going to win the women's tag titles at some point before WrestleMania? And it's going to lead to, I think some fans are speculating it's going to lead to a match versus Ronda and Shayna Baszler. What do you kind of think of this Ding Dong Hello segment and where this could lead to WrestleMania?
I thought it was entertaining. I think Bayley, in her element, doing the hosting gig is fun. And I really do like the dynamic, like the awkward kind of fangirling each other dynamic that Becky and Lita have. Mm-hmm. And they're going to have the match next week. I think Becky and Lita's going to win. I know Dakota's like selling or actually has an injury. I don't know what exactly is up with that and like the crutch, but I was on that same path of possibly Becky and Lita going up against Ronda and Shayna, or maybe, the typical multi-tag team title match with, throwing Damage Control or whatever makeshift tag team you want to be in there, like a Fatal 4-Way or something. But if you're gonna have Becky Lynch and Lita and Ronda Rousey in a match, I feel like that should sell the match itself. You don't need all the other women involved.
Yeah, that's my thing. It's like, I know fans for the longest time wanted Becky versus Ronda at WrestleMania, and now the reports were a couple months ago like that's not going to happen now.
Well, I mean, when Ronda had the title, I thought that's where they were going, is have Ronda hold the title till Mania and have Becky, face her, but guess not.
Yeah, I know some people were saying, the match would have been better a couple years ago when Ronda was much hotter. Yeah, so maybe this is their work around it as far as getting Becky versus Ronda at WrestleMania, but it's a form of a tag team match. That's a pretty big match right there. Becky, Lita, if they are women's tag champions, go up against Ronda and Shayna. I think a lot of people want to see Ronda and Shayna just go on a tear. Like, I think they could be a female version of two-man power trip, like Stone Cold and Triple H were back in the day. I would love to see them be women's tag champions and just go on a tear, just beating everyone up. So we'll see how that goes. But then for me, my concern is what happens with Damage Control come WrestleMania. Like, what do you do with Bayley? What do you do with Dakota Kai and Io Sky? I don't want them like on the sideline just sitting there not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think Io Sky is like super talented, and I think she should be just a singles on her own. And I mean, all three of them, I think, should be a singles act and go after Bianca, because like the main event women's scene right now in WWE, I think, is very lacking. And if you insert Io Sky, insert a Dakota Kai, build her up a little bit, I think that can help the Raw women's division. If you're not gonna, because I think there's on NXT right now, I don't see a lot of NXT women you can pull up to be in that level.
Exactly. So we'll see how this goes. And yeah, what's next for the women's division and the women's tag time specifically. Hopefully we'll get some more answers from Raw this week and maybe kind of a clearer path of what's going to happen at WrestleMania. Let's see. Bronson Reed defeat Chad Gable. Bobby Lashley just tore up Elias. Then in the main event, as we mentioned already, Austin Theory retained after beating Edge by way of help of Finn Balor. So SmackDown real quick. I think we also touched on the main stuff there. We saw Imperium defeat Braun Strowman, Ricochet, and Madcap Moss. That was cool, just seeing Imperium just doing great things. But we did see Drew McIntyre come out and stand there, just kind of, he was just staring at the match, scouting a little bit, I guess. And then ultimately, Viking Raiders came out and attacked him. Sheamus came out and made the save. So I wonder where's that going as far as, I thought Drew and Sheamus are done with the Viking Raiders. I don't know if they're going to have like at least one more match there. I would love at some point maybe Viking Raiders versus Imperium for the tag scene there. I think that'd be great for them to move on to. I kind of wonder if Drew was scouting Gunther, because there's a report or rumor that it could be Sheamus, Gunther, and Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, and Gunther for the IC title at WrestleMania. Are you cool with that as a triple threat for the IC title?
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a really fun match, whether it's a triple threat match or one of Sheamus or Drew against Gunther in a singles match. Gunther has just been killing it as an IC champion. And rumor, the internet also tells me that possibly Gunther is in line to be like a main event level guy, whether that's to take on Roman for the title or be a heel for Cody. So I just, if this is the way to get the title off Gunther so he can be in the main events, I'm all for it.
Okay, post WrestleMania, then he gets elevated to the main event scene. Okay, I see. That'd be cool. As I mentioned earlier, LA Knight had a little battle with Kofi and with the New Day there. Let's see. Then Kofi had a match with LA Knight. Kofi picked up the win, so that was cool to see him get the win. I'm kind of curious. Yeah, what's New Day going to do? What's LA Knight can do for WrestleMania? I like how LA Knight said, everyone points to the sun. They want to go to WrestleMania. I want to make money, so I'll beat someone up at WrestleMania and make some money. So
don't know why more people say that.
Yes, exactly. Shayna Baszler defeated Natty, so just I think really set up Shayna Baszler and Ronda as a badass tag team together. Talked about Bray Wyatt earlier. It's just like, where is this
What is he
going?
doing?
What's the acid trip? And then, Cross defeated Ray. And then, Sammy confronted Jimmy Uso while Jay stood off to the side, just questioning what's going on here. So we'll see how this goes. Next week's going to be really awesome. Roman returns to SmackDown. Raw this week, but then the following Raw, John Cena's there. It's just an exciting time, man. It's just the road to WrestleMania we're on right now. So a lot of stuff to look forward to. So I think on that note, we can start wrapping things up. This was a very action-packed episode of In The Kliq. Brandon, thank you so much for making the time today. So where can the Kliqsters find you online?
Well, thank you, Baby Huey. It was a fun time talking all about the wrestling stuff. If you want to follow me personally, I don't really have much personal accounts, but the Bulletcast, you find the Bulletcast on Twitter and Instagram at the Bulletcast, I believe. You type in Bulletcast, you'll figure it out. And also, I do my own personal show that I do with my boy Dominic, wrestling and sports, curveballs and chair shots, curveballs and CS on Twitter and Instagram. So that's where you can follow my stuff.
Yeah, so I please definitely recommend everyone follow Brandon. Brandon, you are very talented. You're great at all your podcasting, so I encourage everyone to follow you and listen in for your work. I'm Baby Huey. Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey83. For everything else In The Kliq, follow us on social at In The Kliq. Subscribe where we get your podcast at. If you listen to us on YouTube, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star rating, leave a review there as well. And if you want to email us, you can do so inthekliq@gmail.com. And on that note, let's go home. And that's the bottom line because Huey said so.